Hello, everyone. Good evening. And I'm happy to be here to be your host tonight. And I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. Good to have you here. Thanks for always joining Minds Over Matter, powered by Men's Porch. And tonight we have a wonderful guest that's gonna do justice to so many questions that want to know more about. So once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Men's Porch. I am your host, Tope Dada, and I'm so glad you joined us for this powerful episode titled Mind Over Matter, where we'll be discussing about academic stress, unrealistic goals, and how you can overcome failure. At times in life we face challenges in one way or the other, but it's not meant to break you. It's not meant to, that's not the end of it all. So tonight we're diving deep into something so many of us silently struggle with: academic stress, unrealistic expectation, and dealing with failure. Whether you're a student, a parent, an educator, or someone who has ever tried hard and still stumbled, this conversation is for you tonight. And at Men's Porch, we believe in creating a safe space where real issues are addressed with honesty, compassion, and wisdom. So settle in. You're about to hear a conversation that could shift the mindset and strengthen your journey. And now I have the honor of introducing our wonderful guest, who I always call my boss, as my friend as well. Please help me to welcome Onyeye Nwachuku, a dynamic and passionate product manager. Onyeye is not only a brilliant communicator, but also she's a coach here. She brings clarity, empathy, and practical tools to the table. And tonight, she's going to help us unpack how to overcome pressures, failures that often weigh us down. So, Onyeye, we are honored to have you on Men's Porch, and thanks for being here. We know you have a tight schedule, you have a lot, with anywhere you are, with clapping and maybe shouting ovation. Please kindly help us welcome Onyeye Nwachukwu. Good evening, Onyeye.
Hi, good evening. I don't know, Tokwe. I don't know if I have all those accolades that you have given to me. I cannot honestly take that one. Well, thank you for welcoming me. I will go back and look up and listen to this again and listen to those accolades because I don't think I'm all of it. But yeah, hi
You
everyone.
are,
Good,
you are.
good evening.
So we're glad to have you here this evening. And depends on the time zone you're joining us from. Might be in the morning, like people that are in the Oceania, Australia, New Zealand. It might be in the morning, and for those in the Northern America, it might be maybe during the day. But we are in Europe, which is 7 p.m. our time, so it's evening. So in the story of time, we want to welcome you one more time. And without much ado and without wasting more time, we just delve straight into the matter on ground today. And I believe our host is super ready for us. And I know it's gonna be a wonderful time. So if you join us from on YouTube, on Facebook, kindly share with your friends, share with your neighbors, even with your enemy. So love your neighbor as yourself. Love your enemy as well. Love conquers all. So when you love your enemy, you know you get on good term. So well, we have so many things to discuss tonight. So I'll be starting with the first one, which is how can teens balance demands demands with mental health without feeling like they are falling behind. I'll take it again. How can teens balance school demands with their mental health without feeling like they are falling behind? Because people have so many things they battle with, from the house, among peers. There are so many peer pressure these days. Maybe your friends are putting on the best of designers, You know, their parents have the best of cars, and so how can they balance all these pressure with the school demands, mental health, and without feeling less of themselves or without feeling or falling behind? Thank you.
Okay. First things first. I will give like a very brief introduction. Again, I know you have done that, but I'll give a brief introduction because it's relevant to some of the questions that I'll be answering, and I will kind of use my practical experience and skills to answer some of the questions, and I'll be referring to them. So currently, I'm a product manager with a charity organization, and basically, what we do is to manage debt help platforms for people who are going through financial stress and financial challenges as well. So I oversee things like legacy systems, the tech systems, user interface, user experience, and all of that. It's just basically techie. However, what I've learned through my work is that when people really feel overwhelmed, there is that need to break things down into smaller bits. So it could be academic pressure, it could be life in general, it could be debt issues and all that. The key is often to always break things down. Even at work, I always have to break things down. You've got a to-do list as well every day, talk about, and then you have to break things down into smaller bits. And your question has just
Yeah.
reminded me of this very nice song about the world's greatest. It's always inspired me. And of course, I know that the singer, it has a controversial story right now. But the world's greatest to me has been a message about recognizing my own potentials and my worth. And I think that's a foundation for you to
Mhm.
have as an individual. The message was that I mean in that song, the message was that everyone has greatness in them, and even when they can't see it themselves, I think it's particularly important for teenagers today who might be struggling to see their value beyond the academic performance to actually have that time to really understand who they really are and know their worth themselves. So I would go back to your question and I would answer it because from a different part, from different segment. I remember when we used to, I know Toko, you and I have had a lot of times, on the train when we're in class, masters and all of that. And that's where I
Yeah.
probably met you. No one understands our relationship yet here, but we met when we were in masters, during our masters
Mhm.
class, masters days. And I always met you on the train as well. And
Yeah.
I have learned that in my role managing debt help platforms, that when people actually really, really feel overwhelmed, they have to break things down into smaller pieces. And that's really what happens for teenagers. Maybe when teens decide or they need to, if they need to prioritize what so how can I answer this question properly now? Teenagers need to give themselves the permission to prioritize what is so important to them rather than trying to excel at everything.
Mhm.
What I mean is, so instead of thinking about having to do everything or get all your subjects A's in all of your subjects, how about thinking about how to get A's in the most important subjects that are driving you towards your life and your goals? So if you ask me, how can teens balance school demands with their mental health without feeling like they're falling behind? It is one way to do that is to prioritize. To prioritize based on knowing your worth, to prioritize based on knowing your confidence level, prioritize knowing what you can handle and what you cannot. So I'm going to ask you a very, very simple question, Tope. You've got kids. Do you ever tell them that it's okay to be average at some point or for some things? Can they be better at something and be less better at the other things? Because that's another thing that we parents or parents decide to do to ensure that their kids, even if they're not
Mhm.
excelling in one way or the other, they're excelling better in some way than excelling less in other ways as well. So that's a question that we will, I would throw back to parents. I'll throw back to teenagers and say, have you ever gotten to a point where you say you can be average at this and be less average and be less average than the other? Have you ever got to a point where you say, oh, you can get 10 out of 10 in your English um, um, spelling test, And maybe in art, you probably might be doing, an average score. I think what, in simple terms, I'm trying to say is you can't be amazing in everything at once. As a teenager, as an adult, as a
Yeah.
parent, and that is totally normal, because you should know from the very get-go you can't be
Mm-hmm.
excellent in everything at once. And I think that's how you're able to manage your mental health, you know. So I'm just going to give like real like examples. As I said, when I was really growing up, I'll give you an example, because there was a difference between having to understand what it means to study and what it means to read. And I think I found that when I was in my secondary school days. And the way I got that information was really funny, but that's a story for another day. But there's a difference between studying and reading.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand that. You have to understand it. My mother would say to me, whatever you're doing now, whatever you're enjoying now, there's 10 times whatever it is that you would enjoy in the future. So you have to know when to say, okay, this is my priority
Mm.
right now, and I have to think about something else in the future. And it's always better. So sometimes you'll be watching TV and you find out that, I mean, the televisions that we were watching sometime back then, we're probably in black and white or something. But now we've got smart TVs. If you have spent all your time watching TV
Yeah.
those days, you come up now,
Mm-hmm.
you've got better TV, and there's going to be more better TVs in 2026, 20. AI is taking over things, technology is taking over things. So it is learning how to prioritize. It's learning how to prioritize with yourself and knowing your worth, your personal being, and knowing what you can achieve as well. So rather than saying, "Oh, I must study 4 hours every night," why not try and do like 30 minutes of focused study? And then make sure that you can get something.
Mm.
So yeah, so it's just to give yourself permission, to manage yourself, to understand what your school demands are, and understand what your mental health is, because at some point you just have to prioritize. I think I've been able to answer this question,
Mm.
because this is a very huge question. It's very deep, but I've been able to give you like a bit of understanding of what I mean. Yeah, but yeah, that's how that's how I would tackle it. Everyone could tackle it differently anyway, but this is how I'm going to tackle it.
Yeah, I believe you've done justice to that because I would like to chip in a bit. Prioritizing is very key. Like have a scale of preference, and that's why scale of preference in the sense that know what is important per time. You know, if you know that you have writing a GCSE or an A level, I don't believe that time you should be watching the latest series movie, or maybe time to be thinking about the best of designers in town or something like that. I think you understand what I'm saying. So prioritizing and having a scale of preference, okay, that this is what is needed per time. This is what is important per time. Because like
Exactly.
my kids, they have their iPads, they have a TV in their room,
Yeah.
which they watch cartoon and all those stuffs like that. Just there's a way it's in the brain and everything like that. But they know that during the week you don't have access to your iPads because once you go to school, you go in the morning like half eight, you'll be back half three.
Hmm.
Once you get back, I don't believe the next thing to do is to just pick your iPad, but eat, freshen up, then take a nap, sleep maybe 1 hour or so, something like that. Then before you know it, the following day has come. It helps their brain, and it helps. How I call it now, they are in the formative age that the brain is being molded in a way that either
Exactly.
you become a dullard or you become intelligent. So that kind of a thing like that. So I think, yeah, you've already done the right, the perfect thing for that for the question, and I
Yeah.
believe the I like now the practical example, the practical way you've broken it down. I think is the best way to answer that. So because of time, we'll just really jump to the next, which says, what are some practical ways to manage academic pressure from parents, teachers, and even peers? This is related to what I just spoke about now about during the week you don't have access to your iPad, but from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, yeah, sure, you could watch although there's parental guide, the
Yeah.
parental guide on the iPad, there's some channels you can go to, there's some app you can download, there's some stuff you can watch on YouTube, because we need to be very careful as a parent. Teachers, they'll play their roles, parent
Yeah.
plays their roles, then peers as well. That's why you see you have like we are five kids from my parents, but we are different.
Yeah.
We all had the same upbringing, but you know, it got to a stage that we spend more time outside the home than in the house. Like, waking up in the morning, you go to school from morning to evening, you get back home like 5 o'clock, you spend just like 4 hours with your parents, you go to bed. Those circle, but you spend more time with the kind of friends that you made then. Maybe in school, maybe playground, where like those of us that play football so well those days like that. So I don't know what can you advise? What are some practical ways to manage pressure from parent, teachers, and even peers? Like now parents always compare that during my days, some parents will lie, they were having F during their school days, but they will tell the kids that their kids rather that I was the best in my class. So those kind of stuff I believe could put pressure on kids. So what
Yeah.
can you advise? What do you think is the best way to to handle that?
I think one practical way to manage academic pressure from parents and teachers and even peers is having to speak up. I think having that opportunity to speak up, and that is a different ballgame entirely because you need to have the environment to have the opportunity to speak up. But that's one way I'll probably come at to answer that question. Okay, I mean, talk about let me just circle back to you. I mean, you've got your
Okay, the
work.
question, right?
No, I'm just gonna circle back to you
Okay,
with
yeah.
an
Um,
example.
okay, yeah. Okay, should I
Yeah,
should I answer that? Go ahead with that.
yeah. No, I'll just circle back to you.
Okay, I
I'll just give you.
believe.
Can you hear me?
Okay,
Okay.
okay, okay, okay.
My example was just
Yeah,
going
I
to
can
be
hear you
around.
clearly. Yeah.
Yeah, your so let's of course you've got your family as well, and I know that you've got your music in your music career, you've got your job, you've got your family man as well. But there are times when you and your spouse both have different ideas about priorities. I must be right. The question I always have to ask myself is, how do you handle those conversations without it becoming a fight? And I'm getting at somewhere, but just follow me through. These are some things that I think that teenagers also face as well. Sometimes mothers are like, "Oh, we want you to get
Mm,
all grades," and fathers are worried about how to get into the university. Teachers are also piling up homework. Our friends are saying, "Oh, let's just chill out," things like that.
mm,
School doesn't matter. It's like being pulled in, different directions, like 4 or 5 different directions as a teenager. And I'm going to bring it back to my work as a product manager. I see where families actually really, really struggle with financial challenges and their debt. And in that same vein, people have loads and loads of opinions about how to fix their money problems. How nobody is actually listening to them,
mm,
and how they are drowning in it. So what we do is to teach people in my line of work to have real conversations, like sitting down and actually saying, here is what I can do about this situation. Here is how I need help. Here is what is realistic. Here is what is not realistic. I think teenagers actually have that same opportunity, to do the same thing. Instead of, and I'm giving an example, instead of a teenager to come and say, everything
yeah.
is stressing me out, I'm too tired, I'm exhausted. A practical way is
Mm,
to actually go to your mother and say, oh, maybe I hear your conversation around the kind of university I should go to, or why university is important to me. But right now I'm struggling with something. I'm struggling with chemistry, for example. I'm struggling with physics, and it's affecting my confidence. can we figure out a plan to sorting out my chemistry first? I think what I'm trying to say here in simple terms is, instead of suffering in silence or just saying everyone is pressuring me, I can't really do things, or talking about these things in general, why not sit and have a honest conversation with your parents, for example? That's a very practical way of managing academic pressure. You're going to talk about it. I'm not doing well in my chemistry. What can I do differently? Can you help me? Can you wake me up early in the morning or something? That goes for a teenager whose parents are paying attention, because some parents don't even really, really pay attention. Some teenagers have to work it out themselves. But if you ask me for a practical way, that's one practical way, okay, to tell your parents what I can do and how they can help. You tell your parents, I want to do well, but when you ask about homework, about every other thing, it makes me feel a little bit of anxiety. Can we check in once a week to understand? Because some teenagers don't want to be micromanaged, just like you yourself. You don't like to be micromanaged. Your wife tells you to do something and you're okay, yeah, I'm going to do
Yeah.
it. You don't want her hounding you every second, every minute. Oh, have you done it? Have you done it? Have you done it? No. But that puts you on a lot of pressure. So teenagers have to be able to speak up for themselves. That's one practical way. I mean, I think that's the second practical way. Speak for yourself. Um, um, there's another way you could, I think it's just basically having to speak for yourself in different ways, and sometimes having to be very firm with your peers. When you have your circle really close and small, it's easier for you to handle it and manage it. I feel that way. um and you have to be very firm. People should know what not predictable, but you should be firm with your responses, with your actions towards anything, with how you would behave towards anything. Somebody used to say to me, you should have the boldness to leave the table when respect is not served. For me, that's one of the things I will take away. Once respect
Mm.
is not served on the table, I am leaving. That's who I am. That's where I am. That's anyone understands that and sees it as who I am. So you should, as a teenager, be able to know what you want and express yourself in that way. It's not easy. It's a process that teenagers should learn. It's a process that everyone should learn. I'm learning it as well, because in some areas that I need to, help myself. But it is making sure that you can speak for yourself as many times as possible, and having a plan, and dialoguing and negotiating your situation with your friends, with your parents, with your teachers. And there's this rule of thumb I have for myself: if I wake up in the morning and you're not the first 10 people I think about, you're not so important. That's just my rule of thumb. You can have your own rule of thumb for
Yeah.
yourself, but it's just to keep your mental state intact, I think. So it depends on what you can handle as a
Mm.
human, as a teenager, but you should know. And that's the thing, we're still having to go back, knowing yourself and your worth, and having that confidence in displaying your character and your worth by yourself. Not being afraid of what people say or how people think about anything. You should be firm. There's also the part of
Mm.
having the God side of it, having to guide you. I'm a Christian, and I love that part where you ask God for help. This pressure is too much for me. How can you
Mm.
help me? You know. So yeah, those are the practical steps that I can say. Somewhere.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think I too am learning some things as well, because there's a saying that learning stops when we are no more anyway, when we are no more
Yeah.
alive. And that's exactly. So I myself, I'm still learning one, two, three things. And I know we keep learning till, because till we get to our old age that we will stop learning when life will not be there anymore. Thank you so much. Yeah. The next one is I think this one is getting more practical now. This is about pressure. Like what are some practical ways to manage academic pressure? Okay, yeah, that's what we just add now. Then how do we identify when stress is becoming too much to handle? We live in a world that, fast cars, fast, everything is just fast food, fast people, fast the time is even faster these days. So, there are so many things that stresses people out. How do you identify when stress is becoming too much to handle, and what steps should you take when it does? Because I know you are inspired on this because you're always busy, and your experience will really be helpful on this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd say, first of all, Takwe, can I just ask where you got all these questions? Are these like teenagers sending you all these questions? Because they are very deep questions, and I really enjoy them. To be honest, they're quite insightful, I would say. Um, but yeah, insightful question, and I'm trying to think about it so well so that I can deliver on this question. Um,
Mm,
how do you identify when stress is becoming too much? I think it's knowing. So I'm going to give you an example. Two days ago or 3 days ago, I was having a meeting with my colleagues at work, and I said to my line manager, I really need to talk to him. And I said, I wake up in the morning and I think of work. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, right? Uh, and he was like, yeah. And I said to him, I dreamt about a superhero that is work related. Like I was dreaming about a superhero for work related. So I knew at that time that I was being stressed, and I had to reach out and had to speak up. Again, it's speaking up for yourself,
mm,
ensuring that you speak up for yourself. So if I want to identify when stress is becoming too much to handle, it's probably when I'm dreaming about work, and I have to. It's like I have to stop doing that. I have to find a way to get distracted and things like that. And one way that I have done that is to get up my desk at 5 p.m. Normally, I would work over past 5 p.m., but I'll get off my desk at 5 p.m., which is a practical way.
mm,
But let's bring it back to teenagers. Um, I think teens have many are handling many things. There's so many warning signs as well, but maybe they don't recognize them or think they are supposed to, just maybe they don't recognize them, or they just think that they want to just push through them. Like maybe they are not sleeping well, or they have stopped enjoying things they usually love, or they're getting into arguments with friends over nothing. These are some of the ways you recognize that you're going through a lot of stress, and you have to now think of steps of handling it.
mm,
Again, it's first of all admitting that it's happening. That is one of the major things. You need to admit that it's happening, then pick one thing to change immediately. And as I said, I felt like, oh, I'm dreaming about a superhero for work, and I've gone to my line manager and I've said something, and I have acted on it immediately by having to ensure that I leave my desk at 5 p.m. I work 9 to 5. At 5 p.m., I close my computer and I walk away. And I think somebody has said to me, oh, you look more relaxed today, or oh, you're watching TV. Naturally, I don't have time to watch TV. But I'm doing something to change it immediately. Maybe that's getting, maybe it gives me 1 extra hour of sleep or something. But you have to keep on recognizing, admitting the challenges that you're going through, and picking one thing to change immediately as well.
mm,
My mom just wrote something to me. When you do things
mm,
several times without achieving results, it is another way to show that you're going through stress and you're not able to handle it. So you're just, I mean, there's always a saying that if you do things the same way and expect different result, that's madness. So again, that shows to you that
mm,
you're going through that stress. But in simple terms, right, your body and your mind gives you the warning signs when you're stressed, and you're taking too many things, you're unable to handle them. Your body, your mind gives you the warning signs when you're overdoing things, and it is learning to recognize and act on them before you crash. That is the key part of it. Having, as I mentioned,
mm,
having to understand that I've slept and I naturally don't dream, to be honest. But if I'm dreaming about work, then I'm stressed about work, and I'm doing something actively about it, and I'm talking about it, and I've said it up,
mm,
opened up, and I've done something very. So a warning sign for a teenager could be that, oh, he or she can't sleep, or they're having constant headaches, right? Or They are beginning to cry over little things, or avoiding their friends, or maybe sometimes feeling extremely angry about so many things, or can't concentrate. These are warning signs, okay? So take a day off, do something differently, go for a walk, call a friend who makes you happy or laugh or something, do something creative. These are ways that you can take to reduce the kind of stress that you're going through as well. You can also talk to a trusted adult about
mm,
it. Get some proper sleep, at least for 3 nights in a row if you can. If you can have to sleep through all through the weekend, then do
mm,
that. But you have to make sure that you're not living from an empty cup. Because if you live from an empty cup, it's a problem. You have
mhm,
to live from a place of overflow as a teenager. As a human being, whether you're a teenager, a parent, whoever you are, you have to live from a place of an overflowing cup. And I try my best to make sure that my cup is full and is overflowing, so I can even give as much as I can. So yeah, some of the practical steps I've been able to say. I hope I've been able to
mm.
catch them. But yeah, speak up for yourself, identify it immediately, and then begin to do something about it every now and then, immediately.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. I think I love that. Yeah. I can add some one, two, three things. But before then, I want to mention something about when you mentioned that whenever you're dreaming about work, it shows that you're stressed. I remember when I was working in the factory then, then I my wife just told me that I had a dream and I was moving my hands like this because where I used to work, you pick chicken, throw it like this in a cold room. That was some years back. And then no, I was really snoring and everything. So she was like, "Oh, this is not you." Then she knows that I was stressed, and I will be dreaming like that. I was, picking up chicken, cold chicken, and you know, or
Yeah,
yeah, stress
I mean,
is
I
part
mean,
of life, but it's
go
come
ahead.
again.
No, I was gonna add on to something
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
saying
yeah.
it is it, as I think you wanted to say what I had, that stress is part of life. It's when it is excessive that it becomes, because you're normally supposed to juggle things.
Yeah,
I was listening to sometime in, I'm not sure what
yeah,
year, but I was listening to Pastor Bishop T.D. Jakes, and he talked about juggling life
yeah.
and juggling so many things in life. And
Mm,
he was talking about a parent who has to juggle everything. That sometimes when their kids come to them and say, "Oh, Dad, you're not available for my maybe my games and all of that," and the father has a right to tell the child that I have to juggle between your games and going to work and having to go to meetings and things like that. Because if I decide to just go to your games alone, it means we're going to be hungry. If I decide to just work alone, it means we don't have that
yeah.
family bond. So stress will happen, it would come through. But at some point, we need to recognize that if it's just too much, it's excessive, then
Mm.
find a way to sort it out. And I think
Yeah,
that's
like what you said now. I remember that the time my daughter had a presentation in our school. I went to work the night, getting home in the morning. Our mom has gone to work. She wanted me to be at, at the presentation. I needed to sleep. I was stressed and everything. Fine, I went there to make her happy and so that she won't feel like, you know, all my friends' parents are here, my dad or my mom is not here, kind of thing. So when she saw me, she was so happy. She jumped on me and she was able to, perform better than when none of us were around, kind of a
yeah,
thing like that. But afterwards, we had a conversation because we always have this parents kids time like that. So I told her, I said, in life, some things happen not because you are not being supported. So if we don't show up for your stuff, which we are meant to be there to support you,
yeah,
and understand she's still growing up and the younger ones as well. But it's part of training and bringing up a child in a way you
hmm,
should work in so that you not depart from that, like what the proverb said.
yeah,
And that's practical. That is applicable to life as well. So now she understand at times. She's like, oh, daddy just got back from work. Oh, daddy is tired. Whenever I'm sleeping, they're like, oh, daddy is stressed. So, like I said, stress is part of life, but we need to find a balance.
Exactly.
You know, there was a time I was so stressed that I lost sleep. I was having insomnia, kind of. I had to see the GP. My wife was so worried, and she was like, "This man, please, so this this kind of a thing." So I had to take a break. I give myself
Yeah.
5 days break. I stopped doing video editing. I stopped doing website editing. I stopped doing music production. I stopped writing. I stopped doing a lot of things. All I just do was wake up in the morning. The kids go to the house is just 4 minutes. Drop them in school, get back to the house, go to bed. Wake up in the afternoon, no, eat, no, just listen to music and all stuff like that. So we need to find a balance. And for everyone listening, as parents, teachers, teenagers, even those that are not yet teenagers, we learn in life and we apply, what those have gone ahead of us and they've been through and they share with us. That's why I
Yeah.
love reading. Apart from writing, I love reading, especially biography. When you read some books, you see how these people navigate life. Even the
Yeah.
richest man in the world takes time out to rest. So with that, it even help your sanity, and you won't just be cranky, you won't be grumpy, kind of. Like a movie
Exactly.
that I saw with my kids, they called the actor, oh, why is that guy so cranky and grumpy? They called him Mr. Grumpy. So you're like, oh, that's not his name, but it's just a character. So because of our time, we have just 3 minutes to go. I don't know if we could take the last question because believe it's very, very important. It's about an advice, being an adult. And I remember when we were at the University of Bradford, which is our alma mater, you were student rep, faculty rep, you had so many positions. You were the Nigerian student president as well. So I didn't mention that during your introduction. You had so many roles you played because I know you are a very sacrificial person, and you are a community person that believe that we need to sacrifice to so that people can become better. And I know what you did for so many students that time during your tenure, and these are effort and great works that shouldn't go on, unappreciated. I can't give you money, I can't give you house, and I can't give. But we just have to just mention that because this podcast I know is going viral all over the world. Which is this is our fifth episode, and those that are listening on YouTube, that are listening on Spotify and on platform can like look out that okay, oh, who is Oyinye Wachuku, and they can learn from your life because that's why we are meant to be an example, you know, and your work has precedes you. So that's why I'll quickly take this question because I know you have to be somewhere. Um, there are two questions that are very key, but I will have to, do a kind of throw a dice and pick one. The first one says, maybe you pick one from the two. This one says, what advice? So if we can answer all the questions, I know some people are sending messages to my WhatsApp and on the comment section that I couldn't um, display right now. Please, you can drop in the comment section on the social media platform. We'll go back and answer that one, those questions. Like we have to pick from these two. One says, what advice do you have for teens who feel like they are constantly failing and not meeting expectation? Or this one, how can failure be turned into a positive learning experience instead of a source of shame? So the ball is in your court. Let's see which one you pick from the two.
And that's really difficult. But I'll start off with the first question is how can you tell me the first question again? What advice do you have for teens? Yeah, I think I see. What
Okay,
advice do
yeah,
you have?
in just 1 minute, 3 words. Yeah,
I think you in 3 words. I can't.
yeah.
I'll say that maybe teens need to look through their life and maybe their academic journey, and understand that failure is actually an
Mm,
information about how to do things differently next time. So if you're
Yeah.
constantly failing,
Mm.
maybe you're constantly learning and just you haven't just found out how the method yet. So I'll give you an example. You've you have maybe you've done it run a test maybe 2 or 3 times in the test, and you fail that test 2 or 3 times. It means that there's something you're not doing right. That's what it means. What are you not doing right? How can you do it
Mm.
differently? I think it's that having time to reflect and self-reflect and say, okay, what can I do differently to ensure that I can pass my test? So what feels like constant failure might actually be constant learning sometimes. And you just may have not found the right approach yet. So I don't think I will have three advice to give, but you just have at the back of your mind that when you fail constantly, that might be the opportunity to continuously learn constantly as well. And you just haven't found the
Mm.
approach yet. Okay. So if you didn't get picked up maybe by your team maybe by your football team, what are different things that you can do or different activities that you can take
Mm.
on? If you fail the math test, for example, have you discovered a different way of learning how to a different way of learning for your math for your in your math class to run your test? Some people are visual learners. I'm a visual learner. If you no matter what you say to me, if you don't show me and I don't try my hands on it, I can't really learn. Have you found that method? Well, first, that's so you need to know yourself and find a way around it for yourself. So, in simple terms, again, what feels really like a constant failure might just be the opportunity for you to constantly learn, and you just not have not found a way yet. Or so look for it, find it. That's it. That's what I would say to myself.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Now, okay, can I go on or you want to say something?
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can go on.
Okay, yeah. Now that leads to this book that I just display, which says Sound Mind. How music, plays a big role when it comes to mental health and well-being. It just came out, not launched anyway, but it's on Amazon. I wrote this book and it's about my life, how I failed in life, and my failure those years after failing. Why? No, I passed the WAEC easily. Then jump. I was making the cutoff, but I couldn't get admission for 8 years. So I was home for 8 years, and you need to just go check it out. And music found me anyway in those 8 years, and that was what made me a writer of music, a writer of book, and and also a musician, because those years weren't wasted. Those were my learning years. I was thinking, okay, maybe I failed, I was left behind because all my friends were in school then. So I don't know. I'll be giving out like two for for to two people. So you
I'm
can just
sure.
go on the YouTube, just type Sound Mind. So the first two people that comment Sound Mind will be having two copies for free. I pour
Yeah.
out my life in this book because how I went through my teenage years, how I went through those 8 years of failure. Some of my, going to university in Nigeria was just 4 years maximum. There's some
Mm-hmm.
courses that are like 3 years and 9 months, apart from medicine and law, and that you have to go to medical school and law school. All my colleagues, all my friends, that we grew up together on the same, in the same vicinity, the same neighborhood, went to school, they graduated. I was still home. Some even became stopped become some of them stopped being my friend anyway. Along the line, some got married by the time I got my own admission after 8 years into University of Ibadan. And I studied my dream course, that was psychology. But those were the years that molded me to become who I am at this moment. I've not attained everything I want to attain in life. But one thing is, no matter the challenges, no matter what life throws at you, no matter how you failed, that's not the end of it all. That's not the best of you, and that's not the best you can offer. But not giving up is very important. Like I think I oh yeah, you know this song. The storm is over. These are that's why I listen to something that my music are just my life. The verse of the song was talking about being through the fire, being through the storm, you know, failure. But now I have my master's, University of Bradford. I was a student rep during my stuff, though I didn't have distinction, but I graduated a very good grade. And even my during my master's days, I was writing books, doing my stuff, and everything. So no matter what, delay is not denial. That's what I'll just encourage someone today. Everyone have failed one way or the other in life, but that does not define them and that does not determine who they can be. I was reading about is it Henry Ford and the other guy that made the aeroplane. They failed several. Even the guy that made the bulb, he failed hundreds of times, but he never gave up. So failing one time or second time, the other time should not affect your mental health. Come from what you attain. Just like how people are so they are engrossed and enslaved by social media now that my content are not having engagement, and because of that they start feeling bad, feeling down, feeling less of themselves. That should not define who you are. And I know Onye can testify to that because we were together in university during our master period and we had some challenges, but see where we are now. I know we are going to greater heights, bigger places, dining with kings and not just mere men. So I would like to ask Onye if she has a parting word for our viewers and listeners today. And
I think that my personal word would just be failure is information about what to try differently. It's not proof that you're not good enough. It's not proof that you
mm,
haven't done the best.
mhm,
It's just showing you what to do differently and how to try differently. Second, also is speak up for yourself. Like learn to speak up for yourself. People always want to drag you in different directions. They always want to judge you about things. I always say when if you haven't, people always say that uh, I feel I'm in your shoes, so I feel what you're feeling. That's a lie. Because even if you're in my shoes, the point that it's pinching me, you may not feel it because our toes are not, structured in the same way all the time. So you must learn to speak for yourself and be very
yeah.
confident. People will judge you every time and say things, but what do you know? What you know is what you know. You must be confident in yourself. So two things: be confident in yourself, speak for yourself, speak up for yourself all the time. And secondly, failure is information about what you should try to do differently. It's not proof that you haven't done enough or you're not good enough. It's not proof that you are any less of yourself. It's just that at this time you failed. Try again. Don't give up.
Mm.
So I know you
Wow,
asked. I know you asked
wow,
for one.
wow,
If you,
wow. Come again.
I know
What
you
to say?
asked for one, but I gave you two.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I know you are the guru here. That's why.
I'm not.
But time is not our friend, and but I know we're still coming back first week next month because it's always first week, first Saturday of every month. Mind over matters. I don't know how to thank Onyinye tonight because she has really done big justice to everything we have today. And wow, all I could just say is God bless you. God bless you so much, and God will honor you.
Amen.
Wow, what a truly enlightening and empowering conversation tonight. Onye, thank you so much. Our wonderful guest, thank you for sharing, from your heart and giving us the tools to rise above academic pressure, manage unrealistic expectation, and turn failure into fuel for growth. Thank you so much. And to everyone who tune in tonight, whether you're watching live or listening to the replay, remember your worth is not defined by your grades, not defined by your not defined by your past mistakes. You're on a
Mhm.
journey, and every step, even you know, every minute counts. It might be tough, but it matters. Now, let's continue this conversation, check in on one another, and never stop growing together. And don't forget to follow us on all our platforms: Instagram Men's Porch, YouTube at Men's Porch, Facebook at Men's Porch, LinkedIn at Men's Porch. We are live on LinkedIn tonight here. No, not on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. On those three platforms, you could go have a wonderful rewatch, and also visit our website, which is www.mensporch.org, to stay updated for future events. Thank you so much, and I can't thank you enough. So we have Codeta Bridge, which is powered by Onyinye herself. You can reach out to Onyinye. Check on her on LinkedIn. Just type Onyinye Wachuku. You see everything about her. And one thing is, she's a
Yes,
wonderful person, who is ready, to give you the best of advice. And also, don't forget, check out Sound Mind. No matter what you go through, just read this book. And like I said, I'm giving out two out for free to, just go on YouTube, just type Sound Mind. The first two, people that comment there. So thank you so much. And I'll say, see you next time and keep growing. Thank you, Inye. God bless you.
thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right. Good evening.